Hello, welcome back to another video. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. If you're still on holidays and enjoying a break, I hope you are, because I still am. Hope you've enjoyed your time with your family, friends. What have you been up to? I haven't made many videos lately because I've been too busy with Christmas and family and all that sort of stuff, and we're going on holidays again in a few weeks, so that'll be nice. But the purpose of today's video is we're going to be having a look at Disruptor cruisers. More the early to mid-game cruiser tech. We're using level 2 disruptors for everything, medium slot and a couple of small slots, so that we get the 3 auxiliary slots. We're going for speed here, so we can close range and hopefully get close enough to those fleets trying to avoid us. We're using the picket computers for the increased ship fire rate and tracking. We've got all early to mid-game technologies here. We're going for all armor in this test, so that we can counter any of those people using the early lasers and plasma and things like that. We've stacked up with our armor. Well, we could go more shields if we wanted to, but the shield's pretty easy to counter with the kinetic. And with things like these disruptors, go straight through it, missiles go straight through it, torpedoes go straight through it. So we're stacking the armor to give us somewhat of a bit of a chance. So against that, in this test, what we've got is, first test is just a basic mass Corvette swarm. Keeping the fleet cap at 80, you can get to that by year 30, 40 pretty easily, depending on what settings you're using. We're just using a mix of kinetic, plasma and lasers just to give us an early mix here. It's not optimized to counter the disruptor build. It's just typically what you're going to find. Either AI or human players will use a mix of weapons early on. If they're not playing to a meta. Still lots of people are using lots of kinetic weapons, not sure why, but that's the reports that I'm getting from people on my Discord channel and playing in larger games, random games of people on the internet. So not sure why everyone's still using kinetics. Watch some of my videos, learn the different strategies you can use. It's much more interesting trying out the different builds. So going for a bit of speed again, a little bit of more armor and some shields there. Got the swarm computer set up, advanced computers. So no admirals, no other settings. We're just going for a straight up fight, and we'll see how this goes. The reason why I think cruiser disruptors are a pretty good option. They're not the best ship build. We've seen that missiles and torpedoes and strike craft are pretty powerful with cruisers early on as well. Disruptors are really good is if you're facing AI, which they do love to build lots of Corvettes and Destroyers. So this is a really good build to counter the AI when they're just throwing lots of those smaller, or it might be large fleets, but lots of smaller ships at you, and just a drip or dabbing of cruisers, maybe even a couple of battleships. This will really help you whittle down those small ships really quickly. It's effective against a lot of ship types. It can also be a good counter to some of the other metas we've used, which I'll show you in a few videos. However, do be mindful that this is not a good setup to take on stations. You wouldn't want to take on a station of this build. It just takes too long. So this is purely a fleet versus fleet. If you're going to take on stations, I'd have fleets with some cruisers that have torpedoes in them, missiles, things like that, something which can get in there and actually deal a lot of damage to the station, because you're just not going to do damage fast enough to stations. This is designed to counter swarms of smaller ships, destroyers, frigates, and corvettes. So let's get into it. Okay, so first test, you can see the corvettes have got slightly more fleet power, about 3k more, 2.5k more. Let's see how it goes.
Hostile fleet assets engaged.
See, the corvettes are losing numbers rapidly. Let's just stop it there. They're being absolutely wiped, being obliterated. And we'll see the damage there. Medium disruptors, small iron disruptors. The corvettes haven't even got through the hull yet. They're still trying to damage the armor and get through. Well, they're not damaging the shields because they haven't got any shields. It's just the armor. They haven't got through the armor yet, even though they've got some good weapons to do that with the plasmas and lasers. see the armor's still holding quite high. You can see this is an easy victory. So that's how, there you go. Didn't lose a ship, nothing. And that's why cruisers are so great. If you can get it early, which you can most of the time. You can normally get them by year 30, 35 if you're pumping that tech. And the good thing about building a cruiser fleet is that it's so easy to re-equip it. If your enemy is coming at you with different type of ship design, you can easily refit these into the missile cruisers or torpedoes and missiles, or you can go for a mix with carriers, torpedoes and missiles, things like that. That's why the cruiser is so versatile. It's going to be able to, if you can get it early from year, I think the earliest I've seen it is year 23, 25, around there. If you can get it that early and start having a fleet by year 30, 35, your cruisers are going to be with you for a long, long, long part of the game. And that's the good thing about it. You just have to pay for upgrades and re-equipping them depending on who you're coming up against. So that's why this design is really, really good if you can get it. If people in PvP, Montu's tournament stuff, are using lots of Corvettes and Destroyers, you can obliterate them with this type of build. No problem. All right, I'll move on to the next test. Okay, for this fight, we've got our cruisers unchanged, disruptors, no changes, versus a early destroyer fleet, which has got kinetic, lasers, and 3 plasmas. So they should be pretty good at getting through our large amounts of armor. A mix of shields and armor, but more armor focused. We've got double speed as well. That's why we went for the 2 S slots at the back to give us double auxiliary slots here. Picket computers, standard type of technology across here. These are the type of destroyers you'll encounter early on with the AI, and some people like to build this way. Just a good mix of early weapons that you're going to come across from a lot of players and a lot of AI. Let's see how this goes. These disruptors are just killing those destroyers pretty quickly. No losses yet for the cruisers. Just getting through a bit of armor. The battle's nearly over already. Look at that fleet power down. They just slaughter. Absolutely slaughter these smaller ships. These iron disruptors just doing massive amounts of damage compared to everything. Look at the small plasmas, medium rail guns, lasers doing barely any damage at all. What's that, less than 500? They're just struggling to get through the armor, even though they're very efficient at it. They're just not doing enough damage because of the cruisers just have exponentially more armor, hull, shields. Or if we had shields, more armor and hull, they just can't get through it. You can just see how quickly these battles are being won. Bang. So that's a retreated fleet, 22. They've lost 18, and we just got a few scratches to our hull. That's about it. Just a bit of a splash of paint, and we're all good to go fight the next battle. So you can see why disruptors on cruisers are just so deadly against people using mass corvettes, mass destroyers early game. So people are going to come at you with that. If you've got cruisers, disruptors are just easy for killing. It's probably the best weapon for countering destroyers and corvettes. Frigates, you're going to take a lot of losses with frigates. That's why I'm not bothering to show it, because you're probably going to lose that battle. If someone's building lots of frigates, then the direct counter to that is corvettes with disruptors. That's how you counter that. Let your cruisers engage other ships rather than fight frigates one-on-one. You just want to, if some people lots of frigates, you're just going to counter corvettes or destroyers. Corvettes is better because they don't suffer from the high multiplicative damage. Even destroyers suffer from multiplicative damage. You're better off going corvettes. Or you go have a cruiser design like missile cruisers, because the corvettes are quite slow, and just kite them around and fight them that way. That's the other option. Strike craft, cruiser carriers, similar thing, loaded up with missiles and strike craft, and do the same sort of thing. Alright, let's try another combination. Okay, for this fight we've got cruisers versus cruiser. We've got our missile cruisers here that we've been using to try and kite around these disruptor cruisers and see if they can keep their distance and kill these disruptor cruisers. It'll be interesting. I haven't seen how this would work, so see how effective this will be. Everything's pretty much the same. Advanced computers versus advanced computers. It's all the same technology level. Our disruptors, see, it's all the same. Advanced computers. There's lots of armor and speed. So we'll see who can catch who and how this battle works out. The missile fleet's got a couple K more power, nearly firepower. You get the missiles away. See if the disruptors can chase them down, get them to the edge of the system, block them in, and then unload on them. Oh, they're all going after this side. Now losing fleet firepower now they're in range. It's just they're too separated. These ships are so separated. Can't catch anyone. Oh, there's another one. It's constantly unloading the missiles. Yeah, you can just see how effective the missile cruisers are with killing the disruptor cruisers. Haven't lost too many actual ships in terms of losses. Actual destroyed. So we're losing a lot now. Now the retreating fleet. So disruptors don't work too good against our ship meta. Probably the best ship meta we've come up against so far. So it's not a good counter to the missiles, and I wasn't expecting it would be. And that's why you wouldn't use it against cruisers. You're not going to use it against stations. You're not going to use it against battleships. Because the main problem with using disruptors against larger ships like that, you look at the hull points. Look at the armor. Hull, armor, shields. Just, although we go through these, it's just enough hull points for disruptors to kill quickly. You just can't do it. And when you're coming up against missile ships, which can unload their DPS from long range constantly, and they're also kiting you around, and you've got a short range weapon, that's just no good. And that's why you don't use it against that. You see how effective they are against corvettes and destroyers, but against larger ships, no. And this was quite funny in our multiplayer game. I think it was last night or the session before, because we had Lifus was, I think he was using something like this, Disruptor Cruisers or Destroyer or something, and he was using lots of disruptors, and he came up against the station and got beaten by the AI. So sorry, Lifus, I have to embarrass you on that one, and because that his good friend Zed, as we call him, Zach, he was making nice fun of him in because of that, because it was rather embarrassing. But then Zed went and got beaten by the AI a couple of times, civil wars and rebellions. Life was getting him into wars that they couldn't win. So yeah, it's quite fun, quite comical. Yeah, so disruptors are really good. Corvettes, destroyers, smaller ships. If you want to counter frigates, go with disruptors on corvettes. I think you've seen some videos on that previously. If you look through some of my videos, very effective corvettes against frigates with disruptors. So that's how I'd use that. And against larger ships, I wouldn't be using this build to counter missile cruisers. Other types, it may be somewhat more useful, but I still wouldn't use it. I'd go with this build missiles or torpedoes and missiles or strike craft and missiles, things like that. That's a lot more effective use of your resources. So I think I'll leave it there for the disruptors. I will be doing some more videos on hopefully over this next week, getting some videos out, testing some different fleet combinations. I really want to mix up some of these fleets and test some different fleet combinations and some of the different metas we've got, and just try them out with see what sort of fleets can work good against other fleets, and also want to do some more some meta species builds and some playthroughs, longer playthroughs like that, to update it for 3.6. So I'll try and get some of them out before I go on holidays again. Alright, so if you like this video, hit that like button for me, and if you want to talk about things, come and join the Discord channel. I'm having chats and people posting screenshots and stuff and joining the multiplayer games, things like that. Alright, I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.